Former French Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau fought around 50 duels. On his way to one bout, he bought an item from a clerk who said, "Isn't that a little pessimistic?" "Not at all," replied Clemenceau. What was his explanation? I'll say that again. Former French Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau fought around 50 duels. On his way to one bout, he bought an item from a clerk who said, "Isn't that a little pessimistic?" "Not at all," replied Clemenceau. What was his explanation?
It was a white flag.
Nice. I feel like I have something to contribute here because I've just been doing a bunch of dueling pistol research.
Okay, I thought you were going to say, "I've just been fighting some duels."
No. But I do know that if somebody was fighting 50 duels, they lived absolutely between 1750 and 1850.
Wow.
Wow.
If you're heavily into duels, those are the 100 years in which duels were going on all the time.
It is a little bit later than that in France. This is 1892 was the most famous duel he had. But yes, you're in the right kind of area here.
That does feel late for a duel. I'm right there with you.
It does feel late for a duel.
My wife's grandfather was born in 1890.
But no, white flag is great. I mean, it's something like that. It's something like that you would use if you lost bandages, a bouquet of flowers to put on your corpse.
It's specifically bought from a clerk, though.
So if it's a common item he buys, but it's pessimistic, what would be pessimistic to buy before a duel? That, I think, is our first question. Is it
For sure.
a pair of pennies to cover your eyes?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that signifies you're not
that you didn't make it out. So an urn.
Yes.
But that's not a clerk wouldn't have an urn.
Yeah.
This might be a sort of across the Atlantic language thing. I will say that we would not really call someone at a grocery store a clerk. We'd use like cashier for that.
Oh.
So it is not from a store.
Interesting. Not from a store, but another transaction.
Yes.
Another transaction. So what would be I feels to me like we just have to jump on what is pessimistic to buy before a duel?
To buy on your way to a duel.
On your way to a duel. It's not a bullet. It's not gunpowder. It's not a gun.
Talk through the day. Sam, you are the improv person here. I want you to get into character as a man.
Understood.
You are in your house. You have a duel to go to. What's the plan?
The year is 1892. Leave my house, kiss my wife on the cheek, tell my wife, you know what? Might not be coming home.
No, he's not pessimistic. The clerk thought he was. He's not.
Got it. Okay.
Utterly confident. Take my single gun and my briefcase. Get into my. What are we traveling? How are we traveling in 1890?
Horse and carriage.
Probably a horse, yeah.
Not in this case. And that, Sam, is the question you need to ask.
Train.
He buys a one-way ticket.
Yes, he buys a one-way train ticket. So, the clerk thinks that's pessimistic. Clemenceau says, no, not at all. Why does he not think that that's pessimistic?
So he's a politician of some sort, right? Maybe he's about to kill another politician and take over his
and take over his spot or something.
I don't think that's how politics works, but
not his spot, Sam, but something.
Oh, he's going to take his means of transportation.
He's going to take his return ticket. Absolutely.
That is brutal.
This is a man who fought so many duels, who was so laissez-faire about it, that he bought one-way train tickets. I mean, presumably this was partly for show, but his opponent having run away or been wounded or killed, he could just use his train ticket to get back to the city.
Unbelievable.
That's really, I mean, like I aspire to have that level of confidence in anything I do.
100%.
It is worth pointing out that duels were reasonably commonplace in France. And in one of the most famous duels, despite many shots from either side, no one was actually injured. So it was more about defending your honor and having the bravado to turn up that made it important. It was not always going to end up in death.
In fact, I want to point out that actually it was very specifically dueling pistols were not rifled, even though they knew rifling helped bullets hit their target. They were specifically unrifled which can mean a variance of 5 or 6 inches at 20 feet.
Also, this makes me wonder, like, what's the destination for these duels? I mean, they're both getting train tickets out of the city to some beautiful locale, I guess.
I remember, and I think I may have got this from seeing Hamilton a few years ago, that there were usually dueling grounds that were kind of accepted somewhere outside the city, and that is where gentlemen would go to sort out their differences.
Yeah, in fact, Hamilton was killed in Weehawken, which is exactly the same grounds his son was killed on a few years prior.
It is mostly for bravado, this. Like, this is not a serious plan to steal your opponent's return ticket, but it is, this is putting your flag in the ground and saying, no, I'm going to win this.